Hey guys, it's Micah from edeneyetarot. Today I am going to be doing a collective tarot read for the week of August 21st, 2022. Lots of big things happening this week as far like astrology, but I did want to take some time just to do a tarot read. I think I'm going to start just doing these every week. I think it could be really helpful. We can get some astrology in, but also see what the cards have to say as well. It just feels a bit more candid, and I like that style a lot. So we will jump into that. So this week, some big things that are happening, of course, are going to be that the sun is moving into the sign of Virgo. And so when we think about Virgo, we think about being of service to other people. We think about pets. We think about health. We think about getting organized. We think about change. Or maybe you don't think about change when you think about Virgo, but Virgo is a mutable sign. So therefore, it is about transition. We're transitioning from summer into fall. And so there is a lot of preparation. So that's where we get the meaning of Virgo about like preparation or needing to get organized, because whatever we are getting kind of together and getting prepared for in Virgo season, we're getting prepared for it because judgment comes in Libra season. And of course, we'll talk about that when Libra season comes. But Virgo is best used, Virgo season is best used as a time to kind of get things together, to shift things, to change things, to get organized, and to really take a close look at the health of our relationships, our bodies. The Queen of Pentacles comes to mind for sure when I think of Virgo energy. We think about working hard. We think about, being maybe a bit more careful and looking at things a bit more closely, and being more detail oriented when we think of the sign of Virgo. It is a Mercury ruled sign as well, so that adds to the detail orientedness of the season for sure. But since it's Mercury rules, we also want to think about movement too. So lots of things changing, lots of movement happening, needing to get maybe started on something or needing to move something forward. Again, like just kind of reorganizing things as well can happen. There can be people that are really asking for your help at this time, or maybe you need help. Virgo can also be a sign that's really about healing too. It's interesting because, of course, Mars just entered into Gemini, another Mercury ruled sign, yesterday on Saturday, the 20th. And we will very, very quickly see a square between the Sun and Mars this week, which can really create some tension, maybe between the things that we're trying to bring into fruition, and maybe needing to have further conversations on that, maybe needing to reorganize and get things done. Maybe we skipped over something, or needing to kind of slow down is kind of the vibe that I get from that square between the Sun and Mars. It can be needing to cut things off, needing to finally say, okay, this is what I want, so therefore this cannot be, or needing to have a conversation with someone saying, I can't do this. I don't know about any of you, but I've kind of already been feeling that square, even though it really hasn't happened yet. But I think that's normal for sure. One way I think that that's kind of come up for me personally is I've been noticing that I've been canceling a lot of subscriptions that I've been paying for. And it's really interesting, especially like, subscriptions that I didn't remember I was paying for. I really think about that with Mars and Gemini. It can be like little subscriptions, like where you get information, and Mars and Gemini can really start to cut some of those things off. And Virgo is, of course, services. And so if you just kind of go on a subscription cancellation rampage, that is that square for sure. We will also eventually in Virgo season have Mars square to Neptune, and then of course the Sun opposed Neptune. That is not this week, so I'm not going to speak on that. But we will see quite a bit of that as well. We we still have Mercury in Virgo for now, at the time that I'm recording this. And so it can be a lot about talking about maybe needing to heal a situation. Virgo can be a lot about healing, whether it is healing the body, healing our relationships, or just healing our spirit. It can be, Virgo can be very holistic, or wanting to get back to the basics of how to heal the body or heal a situation. It's all about simplicity, even though Virgo is an earth sign, and some might say that that makes it materialistic. But I think it's more, a better word for it might be tangible. What can you use tangibly that's simple, that can really help to relieve or heal things, is a big thing. And with Virgo in particular, it can be a lot about nutrition and what are you feeding your body, or what are you feeding into a situation? How much energy are you putting into a situation? Because Virgo is also going to be very discerning as well. And so it says, this isn't exactly what we're looking for. This doesn't cut it. And so it's got to go. It's not needed. It's not necessary. And that's always a thing. I think that even though Virgo and Aquarius, with Saturn and Aquarius, it's an inconjunct, I think that's something that both Virgo and Aquarius have in common, is the want to create, to be service oriented in some way, shape, or form. And I think that that could be really helpful as far as like broadening how the inconjunct between Aquarius and Virgo is like broadening how can we be of service, not just to one person, but to everybody. Of course, Virgo wants to keep it very simple. Aquarius is like, what's best for everybody, and where are we going? But Virgo is very much in the here and now. But both are very helpful when it does come to being more helpful or service oriented, or needing to look at the future and how we need to heal for the upcoming future that we're trying to create. So I have some cards here that I'm going to talk about. I think the ones I want to talk about first are going to be the 10 of Swords and the Hermit card. Not so coincidentally, we have these two cards that are talking about Gemini and Virgo as their main energies. The Hermit is, of course, the Virgo card, and the 10 of Swords is the Sun and Gemini card. So what is this talking about? So something needs to definitely be talked about. Something needs to be reorganized. A lot of Mercury energy here. But the 10 of Swords in particular is saying that something is coming to an end. With the Hermit card as well, it's saying, needing to take a step back, needing to be away from other people. Sun and Gemini for that, in contrast, for the 10 of Swords is very social. And so we can see maybe needing, definitely between those two cards, needing to take a step back from groups of people, needing time to just kind of be alone with our thoughts, be more reflective. It can be ending certain relationships, or just saying, I'm not going to talk about this anymore. I think with mutable signs, it can be a bit rough when it comes to creating boundaries. And so maybe the 10 of Swords and the Hermit are saying, whether it be temporary or permanent, right now you're needing time to put up those boundaries and say, this is my line, please don't cross it. And really needing to create some sort of end to something, or an end comes, naturally. Another thing I have to say about the 10 of Swords in particular is oftentimes that the 10 of Swords is about, we see, in the traditional card of the 10 of Swords, the man has 10 swords in his back and he's laying towards the ground, but all the swords are in his back. So there's a suggestion that the swords, or the attacker, was behind the person, and maybe the person was like running from from a certain attacker. And so it can be, it brings up this thought of, are we avoiding the inevitable, or is there some sort of intuition of some sort of ending coming before it actually shows up this week? That can definitely be the case. Energetically, Neptune in Pisces is opposed to Sun in Virgo, whether it's a exact opposition or not. And so it can be a lot of, saying it's time. Maybe we are, a bit hesitant to make certain changes, but this week I think is really a time where we're seeing those changes catch up to us. Whether we're trying to delay them or not, it's really that time to kind of cut things off. But there's a nice relief, at least the way I see it. I wrote a blog post about mystical illuminations about the Ten of Swords. I do believe it was under the series that I say, like, tarot cards that I despise. I think that was that series. But the Ten of Swords was one of those cards, and it's talking about how I despise these cards, but I actually really enjoy these cards, and I'm learning to love them. Ten of Swords, yes, it's bringing it in, but it also brings relief. Because with that traditional illustration of the Ten of Swords, yes, we see that man with the swords, 10 swords in his back, and it's this scene of pain and possible betrayal and something coming to an end very abruptly, and it feels like overkill. It feels like too much. It feels like it's very hurtful. And it can even feel like it's just kind of like one thing after another, after another, after another. However, we see the man's head not facing us in the card, but we see it facing a sunrise or a sunset. I guess either way, however you want to think about that, it could work either way, because it's saying if it's a sunset, then something is finally coming to an end. There is no more running, and with that comes peace. But if we look at it like it's a sunrise, it's saying that yes, this thing is ending, but there is hope that is coming. There is hope on the horizon. You are coming to the light at the end of the tunnel. So there is either way, there is this peace that comes with an ending, no matter how hurtful it might be in the moment. The moment, being in the moment, I think, is the part that gets really tricky, because you don't want to get stuck in the moment. So whatever ending is coming this week, remember that it is a time to reflect and to accept and to therefore heal, instead of staying stuck in the actual hurt that is that ending. I also love that there are, for this particular card, there are vultures on this card. Vultures are very resourceful. They're very Plutonian, and so it's about transformation, regeneration as well. And so it's like the beginning of something new, even though something is dead and gone. We can also see with the Hermit, there is, of course, this old man that's walking amongst this very urban kind of area. Let me see if my camera, there we go. This kind of very urban area, and it is, and he seems just very focused on his own path. With this also, I do want to say that you could, depending, I guess, where go plans in your own chart, there could be a teacher that shows up, or you could be teaching yourself a lot of things, or you can learn a lot of things about yourself through your own reflections and coming into that self-awareness that can come up too. So I want to say all that because from the cards that I have, and we of course will get into them, I think the big thing, because I don't want to forget about it, I had this thought as I was pulling the cards. I think a lot of us are coming into a time this week where we are getting the things that we thought we wanted, but they are very temporary. And I think the big thing about this week is not to attach to those things and try and hold on to them forever, because again, that's also going to bring up the 10 of Swords kind of moment. The big thing with this week is I think, a lot of goals will be achieved, but they are temporary. They're small or short-term goals. They're meant to be temporary. And accepting that, being okay in that realization is, I think, really important, especially since we were talking about Virgo is a mutable sign and it's all about change and transition. So whatever is happening this week is meant just to transition you into a more stable beginning. And it is not meant to be forever. And so many of us might find that while we're achieving certain things, they're only temporary, or they're only meant to be temporary. And that can cause, I guess, some frustration or some hurt feelings, or maybe even, feel like a slap in the face, maybe. But I want to say, I think we can avoid that if we are kind of taking things and going with the flow as they come, and realizing that essentially everything is temporary in the grand scheme of things. So with that being, have the Four of Wands. The Four of Wands is about short-term goals or celebrations that are just kind of like for short-term. You will achieve a lot this week, but again, remember that they are meant to be a stepping stone just to get you to that new path, which is why we see the Fool card come up. I love that it's a baby for this card. There's some sort of new birth that is being created. We might not see it yet, but it is a new beginning that is being created. We just kind of have to trust the process right now. The Fool card is a lot about being set on a new path and having to trust the universe, taking common sense with you, but being willing to take and to let know that the universe has your back in this new path you're being set on. And so again, transition is key. Realizing and really accepting that you're kind of moving through a lot of changes right now. Nothing really has roots or is being rooted right now, especially not this week. But you'll achieve a lot. It's really going to be important. We do also have the Seven of Cups. The Seven of Cups, again, love that it's a camel. I think I talked about this when I got this card on another video, but the Seven of Cups, it has camels. I'll talk about that first before I talk about the rest of this card. But you have camels on this card, and camels, they are also very resourceful. They take what they need and they store it for later. And I think that can speak so much to kind of like the energy of this week is about what do you need? Not what you want, what do you need? And really focusing in on that. And I think a big word that comes to mind is discernment. Yes, you'll have a lot of things that come up this week that are going to be big wins, or things that maybe are given to you and are worth celebration for sure. You always want to make sure that you're celebrating in that spirit of gratitude. However, you want to also make sure that you have a good focus on what is it that you need. What are your actual goals? Don't get caught up in like the smoke and mirrors of like the celebrations or like the grand gestures of things that might happen. What is it that you need? Kind of be ready to like not just be romanced by the big gestures, but also be even more in love with the like the more simple necessities. And it can be a great idea, I think, to travel light just like camels do. But the Seven of Cups is all about having a lot of opportunities put in front of you, but at the same time needing to read in between the lines, not taking more than you need. It is the Venus and Scorpio card after all, but there can be so much temptation in all of those options. And the warning that really comes with the Seven of Cups is to look at just like Virgo season is very picky and very discerning, or the spirit of Virgo is very picky, very discerning, and loves to look at details. The Seven of Cups is really saying, hey, make sure that you look at every single option that is being given to you this week and really judge whether or not it matches up with your long-term goals or with your needs, not your wants. Because remember, camels, they live in the desert, so they are very much like long-term survivor kind of animals. They take the water that is in their humps and they use that resourcefully. We also have the Three of Swords that comes up. So I think this is all coming back to not being romanced by the big gestures or the things that kind of seem like big wins this week. Do they match up? Because I think the big gestures coming out of Leo season, those big kind of gestures and things like that, or the big wins, can be very easy to get caught up in, because just like the Seven of Cups, there can be a lot of confusion and illusions as well. So that's why you need to look closely to make a good decision for yourself. But the Three of Swords can be like that hurt that maybe comes when you realize that those things maybe aren't forever, and you have a whole other like piece of work that needs to be worked on, or something else that needs to be rearranged or organized. It's not as permanent as maybe you think it is. But also we could take from the Three of Swords that some relationships might just not be suited for you. It is a Saturn in Libra card. It's about truth and honesty, which is another one. I think this is another card that I've talked about before in the Tarot Cards That I Despise series. This is actually a lovely card. Saturn is exalted in Libra, and so it's about honesty, truth, fairness, and integrity as well. And so it can be about news that maybe you get this week that maybe you don't want to hear, but you need to hear to be able to help you to restructure things a lot better and bring you more comfort in the long term. Libra is still a Venus ruled sign, so it can be about comfort, but Saturn is going to be more about like what's going to make you more successful or comfortable in the long term, or it can be about upping even your standards when it comes to what is somebody else bringing to a partnership. It's saying, don't just accept everything. Be very discerning in your standards, in whether it is about what you want and relationships, or even what is your worth too. Yeah, the Three of Swords, it can be about like, tough love, I think, at the end of the day. So it can be about messages or conversations that maybe are hard to have but need to happen. All of that to say, if you are really going to take the route of more staying focused on your necessities and not going over the top or not getting romanced by the smoke and mirrors, the Chariot is on the other end of all of that. The Chariot is a card that I attribute more to Cancer, and I do believe it's traditionally attributed to Cancer, but it can be about going home. It can be about moving past something. It can be about maybe coming into a new sense of foundation. It can be about real estate or coming into a real estate as well. New real estate, it can be about victory. It can be about long-term success. It can also be about complete acceptance of the self, and that in itself is a great foundation to have, for everybody, whether it is about a foundation for home, or it can be like finding home within yourself and really becoming more comfortable within yourself as well. So with that being said, guys, I hope that was helpful. That is the collective tarot reading for this week. I hope that everyone has a wonderful week. If you do want to book a reading with me, we have the link down below. Go ahead and click on that. So the Star Muse course is also down in on my profile, Mystical Illuminations, where I where you do the readings and everything. If you did want to sign up for that, we still have 3 weeks left on that course, and each session is $40. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out, and the description about like what's happening in the course, what you're learning, all that good stuff is in there as well. So and we'll be meeting virtually over video meeting. So I will talk to you guys next week. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you guys later. Bye.